How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Debatable podcast. Hopefully, you are having a wonderful day. That was such a dead intro. Let me do that again. Welcome back, everybody, to the Debatable podcast. Hopefully, you are having a wonderful day. And if you're not, you already know the drill. You've come to the right place. I am your host, Josh. You know what day it is? It is draft day, NFL draft day. So, you already know we got all NFL today. So, if you're an NFL fan, today's your day because that's all we're talking about really today. So before we get into it, you guys already know the drill. I'm gonna get straight into my self promotion. So if you haven't subscribed on my YouTube channel already, go ahead and do that. For my Instagram guys, it's in my link in bio. For my Facebook guys, it's on my feed. Turn post notifications on all three platforms so you're up to date with all the videos. I don't know what the habit is with rubbing my hands every time I do that self promotion thing, but we're going to get straight into the first question of the day. As I said, it is draft day, so we're going to be talking a lot about football today. Um, Hot take, Logan versus Floyd. Yeah, okay, so I was going to talk about that yesterday, but obviously I had to cancel the show yesterday due to, me being tired, really. But obviously Floyd. I mean, Floyd is obviously going to win. There's no doubt. Like if anybody's picking Logan, I think Logan has a 0.3% chance of winning is what I saw from Vegas odds. And I obviously Floyd's going to toy with him, but I think the main reason for this fight is because of the pandemic. They were losing money and Floyd needed money. Floyd had probably gambled all of his money, and Logan, he's a YouTuber. He hasn't fought in a couple years either. His last fight was against KSI, in which he lost by decision. Obviously, to that bogus 2 point deduction, which could have resolved in a draw or Logan Paul winning, which I think would have been the result if he hadn't got a 2 point deduction. But obviously, Floyd wins on June 6th. But let's get into the first question of the day. What should the 49ers do with the third overall pick? Um, a lot of people are going to call me crazy for this, but potentially a quarterback. And I'm going to talk about this later in the show as well. But I say 49ers go for a quarterback, and for the specific reason because we don't know how reliable Jimmy Garoppolo is. We don't know how reliable he is, and we just he's been injured for the past couple of seasons. He's come back, and obviously when he's playing, I'm not calling him a scrub. By no means am I calling Jimmy Garoppolo a scrub, but he's very injury prone, and to call his body fragile is a compliment, to be honest, because that is how injury prone he is. And so when you look at that and you look at a coaching and a playmaking mastermind in Kyle Shanahan, who's leading that team, he's been looking to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been looking to do that, and you can tell by that. And so this is a guy, who's obviously, like I mentioned, a mastermind when it comes to play calling. He's one of the best play callers in the game today, and that's what we're working with here. And so I think they could go for a quarterback in this draft. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to be talking more about this specific topic later in the show. But yeah, I think they should draft a quarterback because we don't know how reliable Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be. We don't know that at all. And so that's what we have to take in consideration, that is he going to be healthy? Can he stay healthy for the next couple seasons, right? And you could just tell, like I mentioned, that Kyle Shanahan wants to move on. He wants to move on from Jimmy G. And so that's where I'm coming from here. I'm looking at it from the standpoint is Jimmy G reliable? Can he stay healthy? Can he not get injured? Obviously, injuries happen and so on and so forth. But it affects the team, and that's not Jimmy G's fault. That's not his fault, right? Like I said, injuries happen, but Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers head office needs to look at what's best for their team. And if that's drafting a quarterback because, Jimmy G isn't reliable when it comes to staying healthy, then so be it. That's what they should do. And so that's where I'm coming from here. I think that's what the 49ers should do with the third overall pick. Are you sold on Zach Wilson in New York? Um, Well, first let's look at Zach Wilson. This is a guy who's talented. He's a talented quarterback. Obviously, I have him in my top five. We're gonna get him in my top five quarterbacks in this draft. Later in the show as well. But this is a talented quarterback. Obviously, we question sometimes um, the competition he's gone up against, but he's gone up against the top tier competition, right? That he's gone up against a top tier competition. You can say that with about Trey Lance or Mac Jones, but Zach Wilson has gone up against heavy competition. He's gone up against tough guys, tough competition, and so we're looking at Zach Wilson as a guy that completed 70% of his passes in this past season. About 20, 25 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, so on and so forth. This is a guy who's very talented. And when you look at the new coaching staff in New York on the New York Jets, and you see all of that, it could be a good place for him. It could be a good place for him. And I will say I'm somewhat sold on him going to New York. And that's where I'm going because Zach Wilson's very talented. I think he can kind of levitate the New York Jets a little bit. Obviously, it's gonna take a lot more work, a couple more drafts potentially for the New York Jets because obviously they're at a low point right now. A reason why they have a top 3 draft pick. It's going to take a lot more work, but I think Zach Wilson could potentially add some more to that team. He can, obviously fill that quarterback position and really help them out a little bit. So I am a little bit sold on Zach Wilson to the New York Jets. So will Trevor Lawrence meet expectations or will he underachieve? When you look at Trevor Lawrence, this is a guy that we've been talking about that is supposed to be the next Peyton Manning. We're talking about him as the next Peyton Manning. And we look at this guy, he's gone up against the competition. As you guys know, you guys have been watching this show long enough. Competition and resume matters. And Trevor Lawrence has both of those things. And he's played against the best of the best. And he has the resume. 75 completion of his passes. About 30 in it overall for his college career, almost 100 plus touchdowns, and very little interception. Has a very, very good TD interception ratio. This guy's absolutely talented. We're looking at him like the next Peyton Manning, and you think of Peyton Manning in his rookie year. Obviously about 11 interceptions. 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Only threw about 54%. Only completed 54% of his passes, and was struggled in his rookie year. We've seen that from quarterbacks before, but then the rest of his career he had was phenomenal, of course. And so we've seen that from guys like Peyton Manning and so on and so forth. And we've seen it from other quarterbacks as well. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers didn't get off to a hot start either. Even though he was coming off the bench, he was playing well, but Aaron Rodgers became Aaron Rodgers after a couple of years. And, we've even seen it in the NBA, but we're talking strictly NFL today. So, with that being said, I think he'll meet expectations. I think Trevor Lawrence will meet expectations because of how I've seen this guy play. I mean, this guy we're talking about him. There has never been a debate of who's going to be the number 1 overall draft pick. And that's because it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And everybody and their mother and their brother, everybody will be shocked if it's not Trevor Lawrence. And we've never debated on who's going number 1 because everybody knows that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And that's where I'm coming from here, is that Trevor Lawrence, there's rarely, times where there's a lock for the number 1 position because obviously we see it in the NBA a lot, but in the NFL it could be like, it could be him and this guy. Which one of them is going to go number 1? When there's a lock for that number 1 spot in the draft, you have to meet expectations. And so the answer to the question, I think he'll meet expectations because of what we're expecting from him. Right, we're looking at this guy like the next Peyton Manning. He has the skill set for it. He has the potential for it. And I really, really believe in this kid. I think he can do big things in the NFL. And I think he will do big things in the NFL. And I see a very bright future for this kid. And to answer the question directly, I think he'll exceed expectations. I think he'll meet them. and he's gonna put on a show in the NFL. Could potentially, I think, will potentially be a rookie of the year candidate. And obviously, of course, we never hope that injuries get in the way, because we've seen that before with talented quarterbacks, that injuries have gotten in the way of rookie of the year awards, MVP awards, all that. In every single sport we've seen it. And so obviously we hope that that's not the case with Trevor Lawrence. I wish this kid nothing but the best, and that's what I'm saying, man. This kid, he's got to meet expectations, because this guy is a lock for the number one draft pick. He's in lock for that number one spot, and that's what we got to look at here. It's not every year in the draft where we look at the NFL draft and we see a player that's a lock. Like we're not debating at all on who's going number one. We're not debating at all. We see it a lot in the NBA, like I said, but we don't see it often in the NFL. And so that's what I'm talking about here. When there's a lock for that number one draft pick, you're special talent. You are a talent, and that's what we got to look at here. I think he'll meet expectations. Heard you have an upcoming MMA fight. Yeah, I do. However, it might get canceled just because of stuff I gotta focus on. But for right now, it is still on. But yes, I do. I do have an upcoming MMA fight. So how could the Cowboys mess up in the draft? Well, it's the Cowboys. I mean, this is what they do. They mess up. But Jerry Jones, we look at Jerry Jones, and this is a guy who's been messing up in drafts. And what is the biggest issue with the Dallas Cowboys? The biggest issue that I've been pointing out the minute I started this podcast. The defense of the Dallas Cowboys. That is what we've been pointing out. And so when you look at their offense, they have an amazing offense. Dak Prescott leading at that quarterback position. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, all those boys. Amari Cooper, pretty sure I just said his name. Ezekiel Elliott is supposed to have a breakout season after he didn't have that good of a season last year because of Dak Prescott being out. We've seen this. Dak Prescott brings his team back up. And obviously I probably expect them to win the NFC least. But what Jerry Jones needs to focus on, and I know he likes this kid Kyle Pitts out of Alabama. Out of Florida. I know he likes Kyle Pitts a lot, and we all do. I think this guy's a generational talent. And so that's what we're looking at here. We know Jerry Jones likes him. But the thing is, you don't need him. You don't need him. Obviously, it'll be another firepower to, your offense. But that's not what you need. You need a piece on the defensive end. And we see guys that are supposed to go later in the draft. But you need defense, man. You really, really need defense. There's a lot of guys at the cornerback position, at that defense spots, that can really help you out. And so that's what we're talking about here. And they need defense. I don't think they should go for Kyle Pitts. I wouldn't be surprised if they do because it's Jerry Jones that we're talking about. But I think they should go for defense. Amateur. Amateur. Yeah, it's not a pro one. It's an amateur. Amateur one. It's not even indoors, so we couldn't get one indoors. But yeah, we don't know how long the lockdown's gonna last either. So that's another reason it could get canceled. But currently focusing on wrestling at post secondary at in the States. And so that's what I'm kind of focused on right now, and another reason why the fight might get canceled. So yeah, if you've been following my spam, actually no, I haven't posted on my spam account, but if you've been following my stories and my Snapchat stories, then you've seen it. So yeah, but the fight currently is still on. It's just we don't know if it's gonna get canceled, especially because of the COVID situation right now in Ontario. So next question. What should the Falcons do with the 4th overall pick? Um, Similar to the Cowboys, um, they have a decent offense. I mean, Matt Ryan, I know people say he's overrated, but we gotta look at that. We gotta look at their offense, and it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. I mean, you still have guys on the offensive end that can put in work for you. You have guys there that can put in that work, and what you need to focus on also is defense, because that has been your number one, or your secondary, most important, to be more specific. Your secondary is what you need to focus on, and that's what I'm talking about. You need to focus on defense, and I know a lot of people are there looking, for the offense, and all the, as people like to say, the casual football fans, don't, they don't understand the, meaning of defense. They just want to see touchdowns. But me, I love watching both sides of the ball. I love watching both sides of the ball, and because it's really, really important, because we need to see the Falcons not have to score 30 points in order to win a game. You need to get some stops, and it's the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. You need to get some stops. Um, you need somebody that'll put in work for you. And there's a couple guys that are coming out of this draft that could do work for you, but they're supposed to come later in the draft. So going for guys like them is, kind of a long shot, but I think that they could potentially do it. Yeah, there's a lot of guys, man. There's a lot of guys that they could go for. Some of their names are not coming to me right now, but there are guys that you could go for right now. Obviously, it's a long shot to go for them at the fourth spot, and I know a lot of people are eyeing that Kyle Pitts, and I see them going for Kyle Pitts. I just don't think that they should trend in that direction. I wouldn't be mad at it. I'd be more mad at it if the Cowboys go for it, but I think that you know, they probably will go for Kyle Pitts, but they need something on the defensive side of the ball, specifically that secondary. Um, so next question: who are your top five quarterbacks in the draft this year? So number one, obviously I got Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if you don't have Trevor Lawrence at number one, then I'm just gonna choose not to debate with you, because that is absolutely blasphemous and absurd. We already know what Trevor Lawrence does. He puts on a show every time he comes out. Tries to stay healthy. He doesn't like to miss games, and we know this brother puts on a show. Number two, I got Justin Fields. I mean, this guy's an absolute stud as well. I think this guy should go number two in the draft, because an absolute talent. And this is a guy who's played against competition, like good competition. I mean, he made it all the way to the final, beating, Clemson. I was talking about Trevor Lawrence beating Clemson in that semifinal to make it to the finals. Obviously got beat by my team, Alabama. I mean, it happens. You're versus my team, you lose. But Justin Fields, I think I have number two. Number three, I have Zach Wilson. This is a guy that, we've seen what he's done. We've seen the shows that he's put on and the numbers he's put up. This is a guy who has a near 70% completion, pass completion, that is. And so this guy's an absolute stud. Number four, I have Mac Jones. Obviously, we kind of questioned the competition that he's gone up against, and that's a big thing for me. As you guys know, competition is I'm really keen on that. But I think Mac Jones is still an all-around talent. I think the kid can play. I think he has a bright future in the NFL, and that's why I have him number four. Number five, most NFL fans can guess where I'm going here. I'm going with Trey Lance. The reason I have him at number five is, again, competition. The resume is there, and it's the same thing with Mac Jones. The resume is there, but the competition matters. If you're going up against absolute scrubs and guys that can't play, then it's not gonna be a thing. Like, I'm currently being scouted for wrestling right now, and nobody wants a kid that's versing elementary kids, right? If I was versing elementary kids, then I wouldn't be getting scouted, right? And so that's where I'm coming from here. That competition matters. It really does. But they still are all-around talents. They're very, very good players. They have a bright future also, and that's why they're in my top five. The two I have questions about is Mac Jones and Trey Lance, because of the competition they've gone up against. But I have no doubt in my mind that they'll come out and prove everybody wrong. Next question. Do Patriots need to get one of the top five quarterbacks that I just mentioned? I'm going to trend in the direction of yes. Because look, I know Cam Newton is there. I know he just re-signed a new deal with the Patriots, but I mean, Cam Newton was once an athletic stud. I mean, this guy was one of the most athletic, not point guards. Been talking Russell Westbrook too much. I'm joking. Was one of the most, or the most athletic quarterback that was in the NFL. This not obviously I'll give this to him. Obviously, COVID happened. He got affected by that new coach, new franchise, new play system. I get all of that. I get the football world, right? Just because I'm a wrestler doesn't mean I don't get the football world, right? New playbook, everything. Takes time, new franchise, new team, new teammates, all that stuff. I get it. Not enough weapons to throw the football to. That's a big thing also. And I get that. Um, I just don't see Cam Newton as the same player he once was. I just don't see it. Now, if he can prove me wrong this coming season, I'm not even going to be mad. I'd be happy for the guy because you guys have seen that. I've said the same thing about Baker Mayfield. At one point in time, I said he filmed too many commercials than made passes. And look at him now. I mean, he went on an absolute run. And I take credit for it. I will take credit for it. Even though it's probably not me that motivated him, it was probably other people closer to him. But I'm still gonna take credit for it. But I think that they should have trended. I think they should go for a quarterback because, with all due respect to Cam Newton, I mean, this guy's a future Hall of Famer. When you look at the accolades that he's accomplished and all of that stuff, it's amazing. One of the best quarterbacks, athletic quarterbacks that we've seen. We look at Lamar Jackson and we think of Cam Newton sometimes, or most of the time. But Cam Newton, not only, is he not the same, he's never been that thrower of the football. And I've always said, and I've been saying for a few months now that I wouldn't mind seeing Jimmy Garoppolo back as a New England Patriot. I wouldn't mind that at all because Bill Belichick, I was just gonna bring this up too. Kyle Shanahan doesn't, I mentioned this earlier in the show that Kyle Shanahan wants to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, it's obvious, it's clear as day that Kyle Shanahan wants to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, and someone who didn't want to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo was Bill Belichick. Obviously we know what happened with that situation, but I would like to see Jimmy G as a Patriot once more because I think he deserves that. I think Bill Belichick deserves that. And that's where I'm coming from here. I would like to see it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think he will eventually be moved. I think Jimmy Garoppolo will eventually be moved. And I think that Cam Newton with the Patriots right now is just not that fit. Obviously, he re-signed, of course. There's nothing they can really do there. But I would like to see Jimmy G with the Patriots. I've mentioned this before, but I think I would like to see him with the Patriots. Would you have a problem if 49ers traded Jimmy G? Now, I kind of just talked about this, I know, but no, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I wouldn't have a problem with it because, like I just mentioned, like I literally just talked about, that Kyle Shanahan has made it clear as day that he wants to move on from Jimmy G. And can you blame him? I mean, this is a guy who hasn't been that reliable when it comes to health. I'm not talking about his play because obviously this guy's reliable when it comes to play. Kyle Shanahan is a guy that's been to 2 Super Bowls. But here's the thing with those Super Bowls. One of them, he blew a 20-point lead. The other one, he blew a 10-point lead. He didn't win either of those Super Bowls. And so that's what we're talking about. He hasn't won a Super Bowl there, right? 4 out of the if they have a losing record this season, it would make them 4 out of the past 5 seasons, they would have a losing record. And that is bad. And we know that Kyle Shanahan, we have been talking up about Kyle Shanahan and his coaching staff because they're a good coaching staff. We know Kyle Shanahan can coach. And it's primarily because of the health of Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I think that he will want to move on from Jimmy G at one point because it'll save his job. I mean, that it's as simple as that. It'll save his job. And that's what we're looking at here. That I think that I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad at all if they moved on from Jimmy G and traded him away. Like I said, I would like to see him as a Patriot again. Final question of the day. Should Giants trade up to get a quarterback? I think I've answered this before, but I'm gonna answer it again. Should they trade up to get a quarterback? No, I don't think so. I don't think they should, and it's because look, I like the job that Joe Judge has done. I'm a big fan of Joe Judge. I mean, you saw last season that every week this guy got better. This guy got better. He learned the team more, and that's what we're looking at here. Joe Judge has done a phenomenal job. Obviously, you have Saquon Barkley coming back. You gotta fix up that offensive line. Of course, we know that running game needs to be fixed a little bit. Even though you have Saquon Barkley coming back, and once you have all those pieces there, then you can see what Daniel Jones is really made of. You can see what he's really made of there. And obviously, if he doesn't show up, then you can move on from Daniel Jones. But even though he stumbled on himself, literally, Daniel Jones, you gotta give him the benefit of the doubt here because he didn't have Saquon Barkley. And he didn't have, a lot of the things he needed, an offensive line to protect him. And he still played pretty decent under Joe Judge, because of how Joe Judge is a good play caller. And so you got to give Daniel Jones a chance, give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they should go for a quarterback this year. I think they should focus on that offensive line and potentially get a better running game. Obviously, like I said, you have Saquon Barkley, but you can improve that running game vastly. And so either that or the offensive line, but I don't think they should trade up to get a quarterback. That is going to wrap it up. It seems dark because it's been raining all day. It's been glooming all day. It seems bright on Instagram, but it's dark on Facebook. But anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for today. I'll see you guys here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. No, I'm not gonna cancel. But hopefully not. If anything comes up, then I'd let you guys know. But for as of now, I'll see you guys here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Take it easy, y'all. Stay cool, stay safe. And yeah. We'll see what goes on with the NFL draft tonight. I'll be covering it. I'll be obviously, going up crazy on my story if anything crazy happens. But, obviously I always post on my story, so you know me. Anyway, I'll see you guys here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Take it easy, yo. I'm out.